When my grandmother died, she left me a small fortune. My parents stole every penny, kicked me out at 17, and I ended up homeless. Yesterday, they showed up at my door begging for money because my sister's bad investments bankrupted them. My grandmother raised me while my parents focused on my gifted older sister. When Drama died my junior year of high school, her will specified that her home and investment portfolio worth about $450,000 would go to me for college. And starting my adult life, my parents were supposed to manage it as trustees until I turned 21. Within 3 months of her death, they'd emptied the accounts, sold her house, and used the money to send my sister to an elite private university and buy her a condo near campus. When I confronted them, my father, a corporate attorney, coldly informed me that they'd modified the trust as legal guardians because Rachel needs these advantages more than you do. She has actual potential. On my 17th birthday, they announced they were downsizing, and I wasn't included in the move. They packed for their new condo, handed me $200, and said I needed to figure it out, since I was practically an adult. I slept in my car for 2 weeks before it was towed for expired registration, another bill my parents had stopped paying. After that, I rotated between shelters and a McDonald's bathroom where I cleaned up for school. I kept attending classes because the alternative was worse. My English teacher eventually noticed something was wrong and called me into her classroom after school. I broke down and told her everything. She and her husband offered me their basement apartment in exchange for yard work and babysitting their kids. They treated me with more kindness in one day than my family had in years. Despite everything, I graduated with honors. I couldn't afford university, so I enrolled in community college while working full-time at a local tech repair shop. The store manager recognized I had a talent for fixing things and mentored me. By 23, I had my associate's degree, multiple tech certifications, and a junior developer position at a startup. That startup got acquired 4 years later, and my stock options were suddenly worth enough to buy a modest house in a nice neighborhood. I am now 28, a senior developer at a major tech company, and engaged to an amazing woman who knows my whole story and loves me anyway. Yesterday, I heard my doorbell ring. When I opened the door, my mother stood there looking significantly older and thinner than I remembered. Behind her were my father and Rachel, both dressed in clothes that had seen better days. "We need to talk," my father said without greeting. Family helps family. For an awkward minute, I just stared at them. They hadn't tried to contact me in 11 years. They didn't know where I lived, which meant they'd gone to considerable effort to find me. I invited them in, curious more than anything. Over the next hour, the story emerged. Rachel had convinced them to invest their retirement savings and remortgage their condo in her guaranteed success wellness brand. The business collapsed within a year, leaving them with nothing but debt. My father was disbarred 3 years ago for ethics violations. They were facing foreclosure and had nowhere to go. "We're still your parents," my mother said, tears streaming down her face. "We made mistakes, but we need you now." Rachel finally spoke up. "I told them this was pointless. You were always selfish." I laughed. I actually laughed. The person who had everything handed to her at my expense was calling me selfish. I walked to my office and returned with a folder. Implied was a complete accounting of my grandmother's estate, everything they'd stolen from me with compound interest calculated to the present day. The total came to just over $780,000. "When you've repaid this, we can discuss family obligations," I said, handing them the folder. "I'll even waive the interest if you apologize sincerely." They left in a huff of self-righteous indignation, calling me heartless. This morning I received a group text from extended family members I barely know, condemning me for turning my back on family in need. I blocked their numbers and made a donation to my old English teacher's classroom fund instead, the only real family I've ever known.